Emergency medical services in Nigeria have evolved significantly as it strives to improve response time and care quality across the nation. The National Emergency Medical Service and Ambulance System, NEMSAS, was designed to facilitate prompt responses to medical emergencies, ensuring that citizens can access first aid and healthcare services without immediate cost. Now, it focuses on improving access to emergency medical services, particularly for vulnerable populations, such as pregnant women and children. With NEMSAS, Nigeria is building a nationwide architecture that guarantees timely, life-saving pre-hospital and in-hospital emergency services without upfront payment. You heard right, leveraging the Basic Health Care Provision Fund for financing. It serves as the implementing arm of the National Emergency Medical Treatment Committee under the office of the Coordinating Minister for Health and Social Welfare. Now, through the National Emergency Medical Service and Ambulance System, the federal government is reshaping how Nigerians receive cost-free treatment during medical emergencies. So tonight, we explore how ongoing reforms in the system are bridging critical gaps, redefining emergency response across the country, the challenges and the push towards a more efficient and accessible system for all. Our guest is Dr. Emoren Dalbra. He's the National Program Manager, National Emergency Medical Service and Ambulance System. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. This is Weekend File. I'm Ruth Aguela. Now, before we delve into the issues, first, we begin with the news. Former President Goodluck Jonathan has just briefed President Bola Tinubu on the outcome of his mission to Guinea-Bissau. The former president was at the State House this Saturday evening. The former president, who led the AU ECOWAS election observation mission to Guinea-Bissau, was at the country after the military announced takeover of government control in the process of presidential election. He returned to Abuja on Thursday. While speaking to our State House correspondent, Musbahu Danwahab, after the briefing behind closed doors, former President Jonathan advises the ECOWAS authority of heads of state and government to deploy diplomatic means in engaging the military who have seized control of government in the former Portuguese colony.
The key thing is that the winner of that election must be announced. Well, they cannot kick out the military with force, otherwise people will die. But let us know the winner of the election. So what I'm asking the ECOWAS leaders to do is to reach out to the military leadership in Guinea-Bissau, talk to them. They are human beings. They know the right thing to be done. First, for them to release the opposition man, because the man has not committed any offense. He didn't announce himself as a winner of election. If he has done that, they will say it was a treasonable offense. So there was no reason to arrest him. So they should release that man. Then they should announce the result. And if the military will agree, the person who won the election should be inaugurated as the president of the country. We are tired of this in Africa. We are tired. Every day is negative story, negative story. What happened in Guinea-Bissau? It is not what some people will say palace coup. It was not a palace coup. We know coups. Real coups, palace coups we know in Nigeria. This was not even a palace coup. I was looking for the appropriate word to describe. I couldn't get it. I described it as a ceremonial coup. It was a ceremony conducted by the head of state himself.
We flip to other issues. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has sent the names of 32 ambassadorial nominees to the Senate for confirmation, days after he sent the first batch of the 3 names.
President Bola Tinubu has sent the names of 32 ambassadorial nominees to the Senate for confirmation, days after he sent the first batch of 3 names. In 2 separate letters to President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, President Tinubu asked the Senate to consider and confirm expeditiously 15 nominees as career ambassadors and 17 nominees as non-career ambassadors. A statement by Special Advisor Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, listed the non-career ambassador designates to include Barrister Ogbonaya Kalu from Abia, a former presidential aide, Reno Omokri, Delta, former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, former Ekiti First Lady, Erelu Angela Adebayo, and former Enugu State Governor, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi. Also on the list are former First Lady of Oyo, Fatima Florence Ajimobi, former Lagos Commissioner Lola Akonde, former Adamawa Senator Grace Benz, former Governor of Abia State, Victor Okeze Ikpazu, Senator Jimo Ibrahim, businessman, lawyer, and senator from Ondo State, and the former ambassador of Nigeria to the Holy See, Ambassador Paul Oga Adiku from Benue State. Last week, President Tinubu sent 3 ambassadorial nominees for screening and confirmation, and the president says more nominees for ambassadorial positions will be announced soon.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has described Nigeria's election to the Council of the International Maritime Organization, IMO, for the 2026 to 2027 biennium as a strong affirmation of the country's growing maritime influence globally. Nigeria's re-election into Category C of the IMO Council took place during the organization's General Assembly in London after a 14-year absence. The president in a statement said it reflects the international community's confidence in Nigeria's commitment to safety and security and aligns with his administration's drive to unlock the full potential of the nation's blue economy. He also applauded the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adeboyega Oyetola, his staff, and Nigeria's diplomatic team for their dedication throughout the election process, pledging that Nigeria would justify the trust reposed in it by the international community. Countries across the world adopt varying forms of affirmative measures to improve the quality of governance. Nigeria must tow similar path of progressive ideology by promoting inclusiveness, especially reforms that support women's participation. Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, gave this submission at a dinner she hosted for serving and past members of the National Assembly at the banquet hall of the presidential villa. State House correspondent Adeni Taiwo reports.
The ambience at the dinner is reminiscent of her time as a 3-term senator, as Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu exchanged banters with her former colleagues at the National Assembly, past and serving, who are our distinguished guests. The reunion, with Vice President Kashim Shettima in attendance, presents a unique opportunity to reflect and deepen conversation on issues affecting national security and education, particularly for women and children. So, pleasantries soon gave way to serious discussion as the First Lady pushed the frontiers of her advocacy for more women representation in governance, the bill on special seat for women as the main anchor.
Tonight presents us with a unique opportunity to explore the future of our children, especially through women's representation across the country, particularly with regards to the reserved seats for women bill that is before the National Assembly. I ask myself, is this bill indeed possible to scale through? Yes. If not today, someday, and absolutely so. But if we do this now, the 10th Assembly will go down in the history of our legislature as the set that stood for women when it counted the most. This is the time to take care of our girls and boys. I trust in your collective wisdom, your experience, and your patriotism to steer the nation towards a solution that is constitutionally sound and politically workable.
Let's back up the idea of the First Lady. She's a force of nature. And what she's advocating for is the same issue that I am advocating for. We are on the same page.
The psyche of many Nigerians were traumatized in the last 1 week, but the National Assembly is in the fight alongside the President. So says Senate President Godswill Akpabio as he led special remarks at the dinner, which collectively reflect an acknowledgement that more women must be in the room when issues affecting their interests are on the table.
But on the whole, this will make history, and history is better made today. So he will take our message down to the other governors, who indeed will also transmit the message to the houses of assembly, that as soon as this comes, we should have the required 2/3 to amend the constitution and bring in more women into the parliament. Those in support say aye, and those against say nay. They are not here, so the ayes have it.
As we conclude the consolidation of our week-long debates, the House will consider a comprehensive set of resolutions on Tuesday. These resolutions will reflect the insights of members and the expectations of Nigerians.
But looking at the faces of the legislators here tonight, I think it looks as if we are all in agreement that our women must be supported.
Even as they dine, enough was said to cheer the spirit of Nigerian women that the eyes will have it on the bill for reserved seats. From the banquet hall of the presidential villa, Adeni Itaiwo, NTA News.
Improved investment in Nigeria's education sector by the administration of President Tinubu reflects the renewed vigor to properly situate the nation in the global knowledge economy. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this in Maiduguri at a ceremony to mark the 50th anniversary of the University of Maiduguri, Borno State. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
Activities marking the 50th anniversary of the University of Maiduguri and Vice President Kashim Shettima warned that Nigeria cannot compete globally if its universities remain unfunded, stressing that sustained investment in education is now a core pillar of national development and security under President Tinubu's administration, reaffirming the federal government's commitment to transforming Nigeria's education sector through increased funding and comprehensive reforms.
As we gather to celebrate half a century of this distinguished institution, we are affirming the immortality of an idea. The idea that human beings, regardless of birth or class, can rise to their fullest potential through the power of learning. We gather to honor an institution that took root in the Sahelian sands and blossomed into a home for all, nurturing generations who now serve as contributors to the engines of our nation's development and as torchbearers beyond our borders.
Vice President Shettima disclosed that in the 2025 budget, education received a total of 3.5 trillion naira, amounting to 7.3% of the national budget, an increase from the previous year, acknowledging the challenges that have persisted, noting that for decades, underfunding has weakened the foundations of Nigeria's education system.
The agricultural and industrial sectors as part of the 25-year development framework and 20 years transformation plan of the Borno State government, designed to catapult the Chad-Basin region into the first insurgency period. The university's contributions to innovative research worldwide are amply demonstrated in the exhibition mounted for this occasion. It is not only showcases the intellectual output of the institution, but it also demonstrates the fact that they can be reliable partners for governments and the private sector.
And as is the trend for this century, we are also advancing digitally, connecting the campus with fiber optics, introducing online learning systems, and automating key processes. Technology at UNIMED is no longer a dream. It is becoming our daily reality.
During the lecture series, Muhammad Indimi announced the donation of 2 billion naira to the university. Governor Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri of Adamawa State announced a donation of 1.8 billion naira on behalf of the 6 states in the Northeast region, among other stakeholders, to support the development of the institution. The university also conferred honorary doctorate degrees on Governor Babagana Umara Zulum of Borno State, Emir of Kazauri Najib Hussein Adamu, and Chief Emeka Ofo, who also donated 250 million naira to the institution. From Maiduguri, Rahman Jibrila, NTA News.
The Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru Abubakar, says the federal government is adopting an integrated security strategy that balances military strength with community engagement to address the security challenges in the Northwest geopolitical zone. This was at the Senate Ad Hoc Committee's Northwest National Security Summit, where stakeholders reiterated the call for the establishment of a Northwest Theater Command to strengthen coordinated operations in the region. Mohammed Umar Ajingi reports.
The Nigerian Senate Ad Hoc Committee on National Security is summit, moving beyond their deliberations within the Red Chamber, arriving at the Umar Musa Eradua Hall to take the conversation on security directly to the people of the Northwest.
The senators are sensitive to the plight of Nigerians and are determined to play their part in finding lasting solutions to the problems.
Let me reiterate the President's firm directive for the armed forces and other security agencies to sustain momentum. He expects deeper interagency synergy, stronger intelligence fusion, and improved protection of schools and rural communities.
Even the colonialists, when they came, they did not have the requisite manpower to man this large expanse of land. So what they did was the indirect rule system. Why are we shying away from it? Take back community police, regulate it back to the traditional authority.
Governor of Kaduna State, who has implemented a working security model in the state, also shared key suggestions based on his administration's experience.
I want to talk much about non-kinetic approach. People misunderstood that. We're not talking about negotiating with bandits. No. Instead, we're even talking about reaching out to the victims of the banditry. Because in Kaduna, only 6 months ago, we gave houses free to victims of banditry that were affected many years ago. When we talk about non-kinetic, we're talking about good governance.
The participants expressed hope that this summit will contribute to ending insecurity in the Northwest. In Kaduna, I'm Muhammad Umar-Ajingi, NTA News.
In a bold reaffirmation of its role at the heart of Nigeria's digital progress, the Association of Telecommunications Companies of Nigeria is sharpening its focus on policy, regulation, and industry-wide collaboration. Ayo Deji Makinde reports that the group is leveraging on its recent gains to elevate national productivity at a time when broadband stands as a lifeblood of Nigeria's digital economy.
Communications Companies of Nigeria, ATCON, Tony Emwepere, commits to the shared vision of Nigeria's digital economy, driven by investments in an environment where competitiveness inspires innovation and excellent services.
For Nigeria to build a $1 trillion digital economy, we must accelerate open access fiber networks, neutral host infrastructure, rural wholesale broadband, public-private co-investment, and harmonize federal and state regulatory issues.
What I need us to be thinking together is how do we innovate around these issues such that there's benefit to us without chasing opportunities away. NICOMSAT is not looking to bring in 2 new satellites. That will have significant implications for what you're doing.
Strengthening Nigeria's digital public infrastructure, protecting critical national infrastructure, Broadband connectivity for underserved areas dominated discussions with the Nigerian Communications Commission and Nigeria Data Protection Commission.
Broadband that touches and reaches households, farms, classrooms, startups, public institutions, and every community.
The hard day of intellectual discourse and projections for ease of right-of-way. Expansion of inland and submarine fiber ended with a night of glitz and glamour.
We also tried to incentivize other telecom operators by giving a free right-of-way for those who were building fiber optic backbone through the states.
From elected and appointed government officials, ATCON recognized outstanding members in different categories with a renewed charge for better cooperation and performance. In Abuja, Ayodeji, Makinde, NTA News.
From the health scene, under the leadership of the president, Nigeria is driving a healthcare agenda focused at building a resilient, technology-enabled and people-centered health system anchored on 4 pillars of better governance, quality service delivery, unlocking healthcare value chain, and healthcare security. Minister of State for Health, Dr. Isiaq Salako, stated this at the HIMSS Eurasia Health Tech Conference and exhibition held in Turkey. He noted that the health sector strategic development plan under President Tinubu has placed digital health at its core in order to strengthen service delivery anchored on primary care, transform public health surveillance, and enable integration across the health system. In other news, Muslim faithful has tasked government at all levels, religious leaders and citizens to work together in promoting understanding, acceptance and inclusivity to create a peaceful society where every Nigerian could thrive. They were speaking at the Igbo Muslim Summit and unveiling of the Igbo Quran held in Enugu with the theme, the economic benefits of religious tolerance building a stronger Nigeria. Chimaroke Ugo reports.
Reaching economic benefits, contributing to Nigeria's growth and development. The Igbo Muslim National Summit in Enugu with the theme, the economic benefits of religious tolerance to building a stronger Nigeria, aimed to identify challenges faced by Igbo Muslims and propose pathways for national integration, institutional strengthening, political engagement, and to promote a society where being a Muslim is not an exception, but a recognized and respected identity as enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution.
It is a moment of reflection, a call for action, and a renewed commitment.
Nigeria.
Whether you are a Christian or you are a Muslim, the most important thing is for you to know the foundation of your religion and then put it into practice.
Awards of recognitions were presented to well-deserved Muslims that have contributed to the growth of Igbo Muslims. In Enugu, Chimaroke Ugu, NTA News.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, our discussion will focus on National Emergency Medical Service. We want to look at the challenges, the strides, and of course, the prospect. Do stay tuned.
Moment when national security is tested, true leadership rises. The Progressive Governors Forum proudly commends President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Thank you for staying with us. In the chaos of an emergency, every second counts. One decision and one action can change a life forever. Well, this is the drive behind the federal government's National Emergency Medical Service and Ambulance System. In Lagos, Nigeria's bustling heartbeat, there is the Lagos State Ambulance Service, which, like NEMSAS, races against time to save lives. Hingino John Adams will tell us more.
Emergencies happen unannounced, and the initial care provided to victims can be the difference between life and death.
Emergencies do not wait for a perfect system. They demand decisive action, trained hands, and a prepared community.
NEMSAS, a federal government initiative aimed at organizing, financing, and coordinating timely and life-saving emergency medical care for those in emergency situations works in synergy with states. The Lagos State Ambulance Service, LASAM Bus, has ambulances stationed at designated points for timely intervention. Beatrice Makinde is the coordinator, LASAM Bus. She is always busy answering duty calls that we had to do this interview via Zoom on the move.
NEMSAS has come to stay in Lagos State because we've been onboarded. And then the private hospitals and all private ambulance services had to be onboarded through Lagos State Ambulance Services.
The private sector is also working with NEMSAS to save lives, but the doctors have some concerns.
The National Health Act, you are not supposed to refuse emergency, whether you are public or private. Money is not supposed to prevent you from offering emergency services. And when you have treated, you are not supposed to delay anybody on account of the fact that they cannot pay. But the question that nobody is asking is that private facilities are private entrepreneurship in healthcare business. Who picks up the bill?
Experts say when federal, state, and private efforts align, many complications and deaths will be averted. In Lagos, Hinginu, John Adams, NTA News.
As Nigeria intensifies efforts to meet Sustainable Development Goal 3, ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all, Kano State is recording remarkable strides in reducing maternal and child mortality. Now, since the rollout of the Rural Emergency Services and Maternal Transport Scheme, RESMART, earlier this year, more than 4,000 pregnant women have already benefited from its life-saving interventions. Samira Hamisu-Shira will tell us more.
A number that I should call whenever I start having labor symptoms or bleeding, which I did, and a tricycle ambulance was sent to transport me to Nuhuba Mali Hospital.
Maria Lawan is among many women whose lives has been transformed by RESMART. For Maria, who recently delivered her 7th child, this is the first time she has given birth in a health facility, made possible through the free transportation services offered by RESMART. The pilot phase of the project is currently implemented in 18 local government areas with the highest rates of maternal and neonatal mortality. The initiative focuses on tackling transportation challenges identified as the second leading cause of maternal deaths in the state. At the Sharada Primary Healthcare Center, midwife Zarawa Ahmad notes that services could be further improved with the provision of additional equipment, particularly neonatal resuscitation machines, which are essential for saving newborn lives. Meanwhile, Dr. Sharif Yahya Musa, the Kano State Coordinator for Census, says the free ambulance system is fully ready for launch.
From the point we pick the patient to the point we start resuscitation inside the ambulance to the facility, up to 48 hours, all the services that will be given to the patient will be free.
So we have one community emergency triage officer who is a known person in the community that will disseminate his phone numbers. If there is any emergency, that person will be contacted, and then we have liaised with the NURT, the blue drivers. One of them will be called, and then we'll pick that patient from her house or the child from the parent's house.
The state government has further strengthened the program with the approval for the purchase of 15 additional ambulances to enhance emergency response services.
Okay, so let's begin the conversation. We have in the studio Dr. Emeren Daubra. He's a National Program Manager, National Emergency Medical Service and Ambulance System. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Daubra.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's look at the strides recorded so far in redefining emergency response across the country, especially the strategies adopted, in strengthening the ambulance system.
Yeah, so thank you. Firstly, I want to say it puts smiles on my face, hearing those testimonies from these women, because this program was launched in February 18, 2022. And this program is tied to the National Health Act-based Healthcare Provision Fund. So NEMSAS is a transformative initiative of government. It is nationally designed, state-driven, and community-anchored. It has both the urban and the rural component. We saw the rural component where emergency transport operators are dispatched through a localized, decentralized, community-based model to transport pregnant women and also neonates from their homes to service-ready basic emergency obstetric and newborn care facilities, as well as National Health Insurance Authority empaneled comprehensive emergency obstetric and newborn care facilities. Also, worthy to note that the National Health Insurance Authority has empaneled secondary and tertiary facilities across the country, so no woman has to die as a result of giving birth. Giving birth shouldn't be a death penalty. Now, what NEMSAS does at the rural level is to serve as an interlocutor connecting these women to these service-ready facilities. Secondly, coming to the urban level, NEMSAS, guiding and working with the state structures, have been able to set up emergency medical service coordination, management, and operational structures, leveraging and empaneling both public and private ambulances to ensure equitable coverage of ambulances across the country. Okay. Now, an EMS system, you know, is only as strong as its weakest link, right? Talking about the dispatch, the pre-hospital, the in-hospital, all these interdependent and components must be integrated to work as one clinical pathway to ensure minimal morbidities and mortalities are crushed.
And I like the word you picked, integrated, because if we want this to be fully harnessed, especially for people in rural communities, then states, you know, have to really key into this. What's the synergy you're getting from state, especially in the sustainability of these emergency care services?
Yes, the states have really, presently we've onboarded about 31 states and the FCT, and we work in a synergistic manner through the National Emergency Treatment Committee, which is our overarching committee, has akin to this, the state emergency medical treatment committees. These committees work hand in hand with the NEMSAS program. So we have virtual engagements, we speak about partnerships, and we understand that at that level and even at the national level, we also need to partner with the private sector. Yeah. The private sector provides more than 60% of health services. So we've commenced conversations and we are getting good resolutions and good pathways to partner with the private sector to increase EMS and strengthen EMS in the country.
So I'd like you to talk more on the REMSAT, you know, for the maternal care for pregnant women. And we're seeing from reports that there are a lot of women who are already benefiting. But of course, you know, access to information is very key. How is NEMSAS expanding that horizon so that more women can benefit from this scheme?
So presently, RESMAT, Rural Emergency Service and Maternal Transport, is a community-based rural emergency service aimed at addressing the second delay in emergency obstetric and newborn care, whereby transportation, be it NURTW drivers, tricycle ambulances, or even community volunteers that are willing to be part of this program, are deployed to transport the woman at no cost to the woman, but NEMSAS pays this transporters for these services. As Dr. Saminu of Katsina, the state coordinator of Katsina, mentioned, there's a resource, a person in the community called a Community Emergency Medical Transport Triage Officer, whose number is distributed across the community to be called whenever there's a case. Okay. We are moving away from this localized communication model to our Save Mama system, which is an end-to-end digital system and voucher-based system where a toll-free number 3581 will soon be launched, as well as USSD will also be used to initiate emergency communication and notifications.
Okay, Dr. Dalbra, we'll pause for the conversation. We'll take a break. We'll be back shortly, so to stay tuned.
Moment when national security is tested, true leadership rises. The Progressive Governors Forum proudly commends President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his swift, decisive and courageous action in the rescue of the...
Thank you for being there. As Nigeria steps up its drive towards universal health coverage, emergency medical care has come into sharper focus. Uche Ogochukwu tells us more about this move.
An emergency anywhere can change everything in a matter of seconds. And until recently in Nigeria, getting quick medical attention without financial burden was a struggle. But thanks to new efforts to strengthen emergency medical care across the country, the National Emergency Medical Service and Ambulance Systems, NEMSAS, is a program designed to make sure Nigerians get life-saving care without paying upfront.
When we come, they take to us and then put out for oxygen. If you wash, then go see them.
So they don't even ask you for money?
No, they never ask us the money fees.
Today, more than 30 states and the FCT have activated or improved their emergency ambulance systems. And the Emergency Medical Treatment Gateway, a technology that helps hospitals process claims quickly and track services.
The major challenges are, first of all, that of awareness. You see, our tradition is such that when there is an emergency in the community, say a mother is delivering and she's having bleeding, the first reflex is for the husband who has a car to bring out his car and take her to the most natural thing to do, or the most appropriate thing to do, is to call an emergency number.
So once these patients come and we're able to identify them, because we have a NEMSAS desk officer at the emergency, we're able to identify their financial challenges, so that will not stop treatment, so they'll be enrolled into the NEMSAS scheme, which takes care of all the investigation, treatment, and other services within 48 hours. The federal government has been magnanimous enough, they pay.
The scenario we currently have in their city is that we're trying to achieve the one ambulance per 100,000 per people.
And for quicker response, collaboration is on with ambulance dispatch, call centers and hospitals' readiness into one digital network. One of the impacts is in maternal health. The RASMAT program, created to reduce maternal and newborn deaths, has transported over 20,000 pregnant women to hospitals during emergencies.
We need to improve on our infrastructure and then create the public awareness for Nigerians to understand the value of emergencies and the role of ambulances in providing emergencies.
The next steps are, first, with this, we need to increase the awareness and to kind of try to change the mindset so that people know to call these emergency numbers. That is one. Secondly, we need to increase our emergency medical service assets, ambulances, emergency treatment centers, to not be only in urban settings, but also in rural areas. And part of what we have done, I've enumerated. Also, we need to, at least at the legislative level, to set up a self-standing national emergency medical service or agency, mandated with the authority to both stipulate and enforce the emergency medical service practice in the country.
Observers say these reforms bring Nigeria's status to one where no citizen is denied emergency care due to cost, distance, or lack of coordination. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
All right, Dr. Dabra, from that report, I'm sure awareness is very key, which we're seeing a gap there. But I'd like you to speak to the challenges of this scheme.
So just to properly speak to the challenges, I need to compartmentalize the challenges. Firstly, let's look at administration. You saw the map, 30 states and FCT are onboarded and now have EMS structures. So we're inviting states that are yet to be onboarded, like Kwara, Adamawa, Abia, Imo, Enugu, and Benue states to come on board and join this national initiative to ensure that we have universal access for emergency medical service. Now, secondly, compartmentalizing it. You look at dispatch. For dispatch, we use the 112 number. We understand the level of functionality varies from state to state. We acknowledge and we appreciate the work done by the NCC, but we also advocate that if they can improve the functionality of this 112, because once there's an emergency and you can't call, you feel very vulnerable, and that's the entry point. Next, you go to this pre-hospital care. We need more ambulances. Not saying we want to procure ambulances, but we're inviting the private sector to collaborate with their states to ensure that we have at least one ambulance per 100,000 population. Then also in the in-hospital, in the facilities, we expect that decorum is applied. We should treat patients with decorum, with patience and with empathy. And also hospitals that are providing this treatment should make sure they standardize their A&Es and provide quality, effective, efficient, and timely care for our patients in this country. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Dr. Dabra, very briefly now, what would you expect, from Nigerians in ensuring that this scheme works for everybody? It's a collective effort, right?
Yes. So I want Nigerians to know that presently, under the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, CON, the Minister of State for Health, Dr. Isiaq Adekunle Salako, this emergency medical service system is now driven to ensure that there's universal access. Once you have an emergency, you can walk into any of these tertiary facilities that were displayed on the screen and have emergency, but you must be poor or vulnerable. But if you have the ability to pay, don't disenfranchise people, pay. Right? So nobody has to die as a result of emergencies. You can also aid people. Don't pass by emergencies. Pick up a patient and take them to these federal tertiary facilities, and let's save the life of Nigerians. Let's crash maternal and newborn mortalities in the country. Thank you very much.
All right, and we must commend this initiative. Well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Emiren Daubra, National Program Manager, National Emergency Medical Service and Ambulance System.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
So we'll take one more break. We'll be back in a moment. Thank you for staying with us. Our sportsman, Ayo Deji Makinde, is set to fill us in on what's happening. Ayo.
Well, thanks so much, Ruth. We'll begin from the world of basketball, where Nigeria suffered back-to-back defeats at the ongoing FIBA Basketball World Cup African qualifiers after a 69-55 points loss to Guinea. Now, this follows their loss in Group C's opener to host Tunisia, 88-78 points in overtime. Now, the Tigers are up against Rwanda on Sunday in a game where victory ignites their quest for qualification into the FIBA World Cup next year. Let's check out the world of football, where Chinedu Wosu, Manuel Dun and Emmanuel Akman were on target as Bendel Insurance cruised to a 3-0 win over Wiki Tourists of Bauchi in the match day 15 of the Nigeria Premier Football League decided at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin, just as Clinton Jefter scored in the first minute for Niger Tornadoes in their 1-0 win over defending champions Remo Stars in Minna. Shall we check another story from the grassroots, where Abuja football community is experiencing another significant boost in female grassroots development as the new project tagged Her Game Football Tournament kicks off in the city. In the opening match, defending champions Fossil Academy opened their title defense with a hard-fought 2-1 victory over Hovell Angels at the Area 3 football pitch. Founder of Her Game Foundation, Pat Ayegba, explained that the week-long tournament aims to discover young talents and groom them for national and international opportunities.
We winning this first game now, we believe our next game we up our game again to make sure we win the next one.
This football is not just an exciting game. It's something that the girl child can easily use to get their mind off crime.
All right, that's your sports. But before we go, let's tell you that the last match of today in the English Premier League is ongoing as Fulham currently lead Tottenham by 2-0. And that's your sports. It's back to Ruth.
Many thanks, Ayo. And Ayo, what's your password to your computer?
Well, it's encrypted, but there's a 0 and there's a 7 somewhere in the 6 digits.
You know, that's the reaction I was expecting, because tomorrow is International Computer Security Day. You shouldn't give anyone your password, because the day highlights the importance of protecting personal and organizational information in an increasingly digital world. First acknowledged in 1988, the day is now recognized globally by schools, businesses, and communities. The observance of this day empowers individuals to take control of their online security by promoting education and knowledge about cybersecurity. It helps users to understand their role in protecting their digital environment. The day also encourages sharing knowledge and resources to create a more secure digital landscape. So keep it locked. And that's Weekend File. Thank you for being part of it. I'm Ruth Aguwele. Good night.